So what you're doing is you're fucking making your job way harder. I know, because we have an internal ad agency. You're gonna have a massive trouble scaling because everything you do has to be custom.
This is exactly the problem yeah.
Right, so like what would happen is instead of you being kind of maxed out at 5 clients.
See, I viewed it as the same thing, but you're kind of right.
Like what's your LTV? Like 3 months, 2 months?
Yeah, 3 months, exactly.
That's trash,
Yeah,
it's horrible.
exactly.
You need the LTV to be probably like 8+. You gotta make it fucking easy where it's just like, dude, one media buyer can handle like 50 fucking clients. Instead of right now.
So that's my exact problem, Tanner. My name is Wayne Ledoux. I run Mayhem Digital Media. We are an agency that serves high-ticket coaches and entrepreneurs with front-end client acquisition systems. If it has to do with getting you new clients, we do it. Whether it be funnels, email systems, technology, we just released AI and text message strategies and all that stuff. So back in 2008 and 2009, I was actually in the Air Force. My wife and I had just moved to San Diego back then, and I got a job at a real estate marketing firm. That firm did $30 million a year, Inc. 5000 company, taught me websites. That's when Facebook ads first started and all that stuff. I actually should have been fired from that job. The day that they should have fired me, they replaced my coach, and then I became the top sales rep in the company. I spent the next year and a half trying to figure out like how to really like make this work for coaches. At this point, I kind of feel like it's almost like our business, right? Like the whole entire front end is all done by us, but we're still losing clients. Like it's not good enough. I know I don't charge enough. I think it all kind of ties together. Either I'm pitching it wrong, maybe, I don't know. So the question is my AI good enough to fucking get me out of the way so that way I can actually sell at a higher price point? I don't know that yet, but we just released it last week. It's pretty good. I've never been Tanner's client at all, but I've been around his stuff. I've paid, this is probably a red flag for you guys. I've paid, and all of their stuff's fine. It's good to a certain extent, but it doesn't solve the problem that I have. Oh, and I paid too. I've paid enough people and I've been around and I've failed enough to know that it's on me. Right? And that's why I like Tanner's content. I'm really, really sick of somebody saying, dude, you're almost there. I don't think it's a matter of sales. I think it's a matter of retention. How do we recraft it so that way the clients are happy, but it has more realistic expectations and we don't have to deal with the retention issue.
What's up, man?
What's up, man? How you doing? Nice to meet you. Current state of the business, we're currently stuck around 10K. I'm lower than I have been recently just because of the move.
Okay.
We also have jettisoned some really, really bad clients, namely people like...
What is that, SMMA?
Yes, SMMA. Yeah. We handle front-end client acquisition systems. So if it has to do with getting clients, we do it. Cold email, go high level, emails, texts, funnels. We just released AI, conversational AI that's really badass.
Okay.
Yeah, and then ads. Mainly TikTok right now is our main channel, but Facebook has been my historical stuff. Highest month that we've ever had is 35K. Okay. Lowest month in the past 2 years has been 8, but generally speaking, it's somewhere in between 10 to 20. Yeah, before I moved, we hit 17, and then it was 15, and then I got rid of it.
What are the types of clients you get?
High ticket coaches, consultants.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Wife is right-hand man type person.
Okay.
She's operations. She's been in this type of role before, but she doesn't. I was telling these guys, you have to kind of like give her something that's complete, and then she operates it. She doesn't create, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. But she ran the entire customer service department of an Inc. 5000 company for 6 years, so she shouldn't have a problem if we can figure out how to get her more involved. I have a funnel builder that is in Thailand, and then a video editor for my TikTok videos that are contract. Between the two of them, they're $1,500 a month.
Okay, so video editor
and funnel builder, yeah.
And funnel guy. That's it?
Yeah, that's it. Me and my wife, funnel guy. I mean, if you count my 9-year-old, but you know.
Okay. How do you get clients right now?
Right now, cold email, man.
So just cold email. Like, what's your cold email like? Just so I have an idea.
We send 1,500 cold emails a day. I use a software called Gmonster.
Gmonster.
Yeah.
Okay.
It sends out the emails. The emails come in. We respond to the emails. We put the emails in go high level. If they don't respond to us by calling, texting.
Like the ones that respond, you put in go high level?
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah. We don't we keep go high level in Gmonster.
Right. Separate, of course. Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah.
Where do you get the lists?
Well, traditionally we got it from D7, but we just switched to scraping LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but we have a list of 100.
Just as FYI, the best way I found is you go to Facebook groups with the actual VA, and the VAs will cross-reference it with seamless.ai. Mm-hmm. That's actually the best way. It's slower, the most effective by far. Because what they do is like, so in seamless.ai, when you go in there.
Yeah, I have it.
Yeah, so what's cool is like you could put like, say you type in Tanner Chidester. Well, what will happen is like it'll have the social medias connected usually. So like you can see if there's 3 Tanner Chidesters, you can click and see which one. And then the VA is smart enough to go, okay, this is the right info, this is wrong, and put the right info in the list. And it's usually a lot better. Like that's the cleanest I found it.
We're doing that with Lead Sniper right now, actually.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I mean, this will still work. It's just usually what I find is like when you pull bulk lists or you scrape, it's just not that.
Yeah.
It's like 2-year-old data, or like they're not a trainer anymore, like they're not a coach anymore, whatever. Okay, so it's all cold email. What's the price per client?
Price per client, $3,000 setup, $1,500 a month after 6 weeks. Takes us to, the reason it's 6 weeks is because
$3,000 setup, you said?
Yes.
6 weeks?
Yeah, 6 weeks. Takes us 2 weeks to build out and customize everything. They fill out a form, like a big, long, arduous form when they say yes and they pay us. And then we take that form and then we turn it into funnels and emails and all that shit.
So $3,000 setup, and then what is it after that?
$1,500 a month ongoing.
So your setup's more ongoing. Okay. And then the setup is like, are they usually starting from scratch?
Yeah,
like,
usually.
You're getting all beginners pretty much?
For the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, occasionally we'll get like an Akbar Sheik type of person, but like usually they're really disorganized in the first place and they don't do shit anyways.
Why are you doing cold email and not like ads or something else? Any reason?
I mean, number one, it's cheaper. Number two, I'm good on the phone to a certain extent. That was actually going to be one of the questions that I wanted to ask. I have a cold call background. I was a high ticket sales rep for that company that my wife.
So if they respond, you do a set call and then you schedule a sales call.
Yeah, I do like a 15-minute call and then.
So right now you're making you got like 5 clients on retainer.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And then who's doing all the fulfillment?
It's all me, my wife, and the 2 VAs.
But like, who sets all this up? So like, are you the one who sets this all up?
Oh, we have a snapshot and go high level that has all of our stuff in it that we just take their offers.
So realistically, a new client comes on, click of a button, it's in there.
Yeah.
So like, why does this take 6 weeks?
Oh, it's also 4 weeks of service too. I wasn't clear there.
Okay, so 4 weeks of service.
Yeah, 2 weeks to set up.
Okay, so it's more like a 2. Okay, got it.
Yeah, 2 weeks to set up plus
first month.
Yeah,
okay.
plus first month.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And then was it 3-month minimum or what is it?
It is now. It wasn't until recently.
Okay, so 3-month minimum. Yeah, because it's too much work. To do that. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. We were losing people on month 2 that were just like not committed. And
yeah. Okay, so
that 3-month was just implemented like a month ago.
Who runs the ads and communicates with the clients?
I do.
You do?
Mm-hmm. I know. But that's part of the issue, right? Like I'm good on the phone. But I think, and I'm not sure, Tanner, I think that I'm not as good as I think that I am.
On ads?
No, on the phone. Like I have trouble selling stuff over $5,000, to be honest.
Why do you feel that way?
Just historical.
Like objections, or like you just think you're weird, or like what?
I don't know. It's just like, it's just historical data. I don't judge myself on it, and I move faster than most people. So I'm just like, hey, look, if I can sell 6 at $3,000 instead of 2 at $5,000, then I'm making more money. And so
how long is your sales call?
Usually 45 minutes.
Okay, it's not like super short.
No.
I usually give myself an hour because I'll give like 15 minutes for objections. So the first thing is realistically, if your wife is going to be the COO, like she's got to do more than what you told me. Like if she's really COO, she does this. Here's the deal. You could do this all by yourself. You can. Like, you could do the calls or the funnels and run the clients. You could probably run this up to like maybe you probably get to like 10 clients. You'd probably start running into issues. Yeah. And then you'd have to bring on a media buyer or like a VA. Mm-hmm. But if she's actually going to help you, I think the one thing you guys need to sit down as a couple is like, she has to learn. So like, I'm good friends with I look up to him, and like a lot of what did is like just figured out. Like wasn't like, oh yeah, let me show you what to do. He's like, I need you to figure this out. She's like, okay. That may not be the role you want to have with your wife, but if she's going to help you, I think realistically it's got to be like, hey babe, like I need you to go and figure this out, whether it's take a course or YouTube it or whatever. And it's going to be uncomfortable. But if you look at my background before I started making money back in I don't know what year it was, like 2016, I built a whole thing. I built a funnel. I did email. I didn't know any of this. I was like, what's up? A fucking opt-in page. I didn't know any of that stuff. And so I think if you really want to get help, the way that she could help you is like, ultimately is like, if she's doing the operations, meaning as you're focusing on this full time, then she's the one who's like hiring the team. She's training the staff. Like that's a more realistic role versus like
she's good at that stuff too.
Right. Basically, like if she's only going to be customer service, can she even run ads?
No, she wants me to run ads.
Right. So you see what I'm saying? So it's like, she's not, I love her. I'm sure she's great. I'm not trying to say anything.
Even if she wasn't, I'd tell you, you know?
Yeah. So it's like in terms of the business, she's not bringing a lot to the table. Right.
And maybe that's my fault, right? Because maybe I have her doing the wrong task. Because right now she runs the cold email and she runs my content flywheel. So I create the content, right? And then she'll like turn it into a blog post, and then she'll turn it into a long-term email.
Okay, so let's talk more about that. But I think realistically, like if you're gonna do that, you need to have set roles, and like it's got to be more of like 50-50, where it's like she has to go figure it out. Because if you're in a business partnership where it's like 80-20 or 90-10, which it sounds like it is right now.
Yeah, it is.
It's a waste. Like she might as well just be your employee, and then you just tell her, hey, you do customer service and you can get $2,000 a month or whatever it is. Like to me, that's not equal. Now you're in a place where you can just run the whole thing right now. You probably won't start maxing out.
I was until 2 years ago.
Yeah, and you probably could do all of this up to like maybe 10 clients, and maybe not even that. There's a few things I'm going to go through with that is causing you an issue, but we'll get there. So what I want to know is like on a typical day, what's your day-to-day like?
Yeah, so structure. I wake up around 6:30 or 7.
Okay.
7 to 8 is usually like check emails, make sure that my day's all the way that I thought it was when I went to bed that night, clear up my day. 8 to 9 is boxing 5 days a week, 4 or 5 days a week. 9 to noon, at least until I moved to Florida, was call my leads. Okay. Now I don't do that. My time's a little messed up right now.
When you say call the leads, like anyone who's replied?
Yeah. So like because we send 1,500 a day, we'll usually get a burst like right when we send. We'll get another burst like right in the afternoon, and then there's some that happen overnight.
Okay. What's your conversion on that? So if you send 1,500 a day, how many respond typically to how many?
Anywhere between 2 to 10.
Okay. So let's say 5. Yeah. And then how many convert to a sales call?
Usually 2 or 3.
Out of 5?
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3?
Yeah.
Jeez. All right.
That's
per day?
I'm good at that. Yeah.
That's per day?
Mm-hmm. I just started doing this again. We sent 15
per week. So like per week, you're having 15 sales calls and you're closing like 1, or if not even that.
I wouldn't say that. My show rate's only about 30 or 40%.
Okay, so that's better. Okay, so you'll schedule 2 to 3. So let's do this per week. So you do 1,500 a day. Yeah, so times 7. Okay, yeah, so 10,500 a week. And then let's say you get 5 replies a day, you said?
Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 7, sometimes, yeah.
Okay, so let's say 5. Yeah. So let's just do 5 times, so it's 35, right? You get 35 replies, and then you're saying that you're going to book, I think you said for every 5, you're going to book like 2 or 3, so.
Let's say 2.
Okay, 2, so let's do, that's 14.
Yeah.
And then you said how many of those, you said 30% show to the call?
30 or 40 usually, yeah.
Calls, respond. So you get 4 that show, and out of the 4, how many do you close? Or like, do you close 1 out of 10? Do you close?
My close rate over the last 15 years is 33%.
Okay, so that means you're only closing like 1 every. Well,
if all I'm doing is sales, I'll close 5 or 6 a month, easy.
Let's say you close 1. All right, so your response rate is what? Yeah, because your response rate's like not even that great, to be honest. It's like you're getting less than 0.5%, which isn't like. I mean, I would usually shoot for like maybe a 1%. You're getting 0.5%. I mean, this would work though. I guess like the question I have is before you get back into this, like you said, if all I did was this, is I close more calls. Why do you feel like that matters? Like, what does it matter if you're doing other stuff?
Because I've had like. A couple years ago, we had to get sober. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
Right. I was at a period where I had 2 clients.
Okay.
Those 2 clients were kind of on autopilot.
Yeah.
All I did for that month was close.
But are you saying, I'm just trying to understand why you say that. Like, you're saying it's because it's an energy issue? Is it a bandwidth issue? Is it like...
Yeah, it's a bandwidth issue.
You just think like, I don't have enough energy to like do this and that, so I'm not bringing my best. Is that kind of what you're saying? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, what else do you do? So 9 to 12, you call leads, then what?
Call leads, obviously go eat lunch, and then from after that until my kid gets home, it's all customer service stuff.
It's like what, like 1 to 5 or what?
Yeah, so 1 to 3:30.
1 to 3:30?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's customer service.
Yeah, so whether that's...
And then is that it for the day and you're done?
Yeah, and then it's kid time.
Okay. So
I would add also to 7 to 8 check client campaigns as well. I'm doing that in the morning too.
7 to 8.
Yeah, so...
client campaigns. Okay, so you gotta be pretty efficient because like realistically, when you're doing a startup, like, I mean, if I'm doing 16 hours a day and you're doing 8, I will beat you.
Yeah.
It's your call. It's your life. So if like for you, you're like, yo, after 3:30, like I'm spending time with my kid. I don't give a f. That's fine. But you got to be super efficient. You don't have any room.
Part of the reason that's exactly why I'm here, because I'm trying to be the dad that I didn't have. So that's really not really
have to, but you got to be super efficient.
Exactly.
So yeah. And then even that, like you're putting, the boxing doesn't really count either, because
I can move the boxing to later. It's just like it
doesn't really matter if it's later or not. It's just like you getting as much work in as you can. So the first thought would just be, you could get up earlier, right? So I mean, it's like you could work till the same time. I mean, this would be easy. It'd be harder, but it's like the most obvious. It's like you get up at like, let's say 4:30 and you're able to do more work, right? I mean, that's the most obvious, like easiest solution in terms of like, what's the fastest? Okay, so you just like, let's say you got up at 4:30, you go to bed. I don't know what time you go to bed. Let's say you go to bed at 10, you go to bed at 8:30. I don't know. Like that's just that's not that complex, but that could be something you do because it gives you more time, right? Because you go from 9 hours to 11 hours, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you go to bed like at 10:30, it's kind of the same technically, but it's like if you're like, hey, at 3:30 is my cutoff. If that's like the time for you, then to me, it's like, okay, if you really need more work and you don't want to like extend past 3:30, then you might get up earlier. Now you might just be like, I don't want to work more than 9 hours, period. Then you just leave it as it is. But this would be like the most obvious where it's like, hey, how can we get more time? Because it's easy. I can cut stuff, but at the end of the day, it's like, how can I get more time? And then really realistically, when your business is only doing, you said you're like at 10K right now, you need more sales. Like you can't grow without sales. So that's number one. So maybe give yourself more time. Now, the rest of this stuff, the thing I don't really like is you're bringing complexity in the business when I don't think it's necessary. So I had a guy here yesterday who does SMMA as well, and he does Kairos, and he's doing about 150 a month. The reason he's able to scale with a very small team, he has one media buyer doing 50 accounts. Why? It's the same thing for every single person. What you're doing is you're actually creating complexity because you have a fitness coach, you have a business coach, you have a fucking mindset coach.
Yeah.
So what you're doing is you're fucking making your job way harder. I know because we have an internal ad agency. We don't really run ads for coaches because realistically, it's all over the place. And so you get someone who comes in who's a fucking beginner, who's experienced, they need this funnel, they need that funnel. And so you're creating massive complexity in the business, which means when you do get more clients, you may not notice it as much now, you're going to have a massive trouble scaling because everything you do has to be custom.
This is exactly the problem yeah.
Right.
And it's either like, do I charge more and then be a better sales guy or
no, I would pick an avatar that is easy, dude. So like, I mean, most of the SMMA for us, like a one that's good for us is like gyms. Because we know if we can find a gym, they're a business owner, right? This is why Gym Launch did so well. Business owner, they're usually charging a low price. So we just raise their price and I make so much more sales. They don't know how to run ads. So it's like very simple concept versus if you bring in a coach, like, oh, I've tried this or I've tried that. And there's a lot more that has to go right. Like if I go after a gym, they usually have a 90% in-person close rate. Online's what, 30 at best?
Yeah.
They're usually not running ads. So as soon as I turn ads on, it's going to work for them. It's in-person consultations, for example. Same thing for Kairos. That's why like a lot of SMMA, if I was to do it and I was going to scale it, you'd pick one thing, you'd pay more per lead and maybe more per call, but you're going to make a lot more money. If you're going to go SMMA, you have to pick an avatar and you have to make it way more simple because if you like right now, you may not feel it as much because you just don't have that many clients. But realistically, if you had, let's say you only did gyms, doesn't matter what you do. They get the same funnel, the same text, the same ads, the same videos, the same everything. And so you can just massively distribute it without, and it's not going to give you competition because they're in different local areas. Go ahead.
All right. I'm going to give a little kickback on that. Okay. Definitely, traditionally would agree with that. Mm-hmm. In practice, it hasn't worked for me. Meaning that when I first started with coaches, it was relationship coaches. I did this. I scaled past where I'm at currently already with a solar company, as well as a real estate company as well. Okay. So I totally get what you're saying. And the original intention was to just be relationship coaches.
Yeah.
That's when I was with. So maybe there was a disconnect there because he was like, oh yeah, if you're going to do relationship coaches, I've got a funnel. And the funnel never worked.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and finish all.
The issue is that with the cold email strategy that we're using, because we don't have a big budget right now, right? And I don't want to spend money on ads unless I'm going to spend $2,500 on ads at least, right? Because of that fact, we just started getting a lot of different types of coaches. And what I've found is that whether it's, if I have a big, long qualification and I see what their offer is, I can put a style funnel in there and then craft the offer that way. It always generates leads. It always generates appointments. It's whether they can close or not.
Right.
That's the
issue. I know, but that is the issue. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So like if it's in-person consultations, they can close at 90%, which is easier for you to scale because then you know if you actually charge them money, they'll make sales. The problem with online coaches is most of them suck ass. So you're getting clients and then you're pissed that you're not getting them results. But we all know that the results mostly come from them. Yeah. Right? So when we run a funnel, I mean, everyone who comes over here is usually a coach. So what am I telling them? They're like, well, tell me your funnel. What most of them are doing is you run the ad. Okay. Then you do the opt-in. This is notorious for beginners. Okay. Then they'll have like the VSL, right? And then they have a call. Yeah. Okay. The problem is they're hoping this is going to do like all the work for them.
Yeah. 100%.
My team will we're DMing, we text, we retarget, we dial everyone, we're sending them to the Facebook group, we're doing all these things. And so the problem is like they come in with the mindset that you running the ads is going to make them rich when we all know that's why true.
You just gave me something awesome.
Right.
Actually, so that's why it works for me because I do all that stuff.
Right. So the problem is you're going, oh, well, what if I did this stuff for them? You can't, you won't scale.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the problem is you're getting the wrong client. Now, the other problem here is most people can only close at 30%. Some can't even close at that, dude. And that's assuming they get like a pay in full or something.
Yeah.
So I'm just telling you from experience, we have an internal ad agency that does, 6 figs a month.
Yeah.
Something crazy, but it's only for clients we have. And so we'll do it for those clients because it's like, hey, Tanner, we're paying you for consulting and can you run our ads? We're like, fine. But in terms of like going to cold traffic
with the ad,
we don't do that because it's just too wide. And then most of the people who come on, they don't make any money.
And so they're mad.
Right? And so, yeah. And then they're like, oh, I hired this agency and it didn't work. Yeah, it didn't work. And it's like, yeah, but you suck at this and I can't do it for you. And you don't have time to fucking coach them and fucking run their ads and all these things.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing you need to do is I hear what you're saying, but like, instead of going after all this, like I would refine who you're going after where you think it would be easy. The guy yesterday, like I liked his thing, he did Kairos. I mean, the most normal ones I hear is like, it's like Cairo, roofers, solar, gyms. There's some other but the thing I like, the thing that's consistent.
That's how we scaled to 35. Yeah, the solar company before the pandemic, because I was in solar before Bill Murphy and all that too.
Yeah,
I was a solar guy.
Yeah, and the guy we had yesterday, he was running Kairos, dude. He was telling me they spend $50 a lead.
Yeah,
but I was like, what's his cost per call? And I think he said his cost per call was like $250. So I was like,
yeah, that makes sense.
It doesn't matter as long as it works. And the thing you're gonna run into for sure, like, what's your goal? Like, I don't think I asked your revenue goal. What's your goal?
You're gonna laugh.
No, go for it. What is it?
I want to get the money.
Yeah, so
you know what that is, right?
Yeah, so like what you're doing is not going to work because what will happen?
Hence why I'm here.
What will happen is you're going to keep bringing in these coaches, you're going to keep getting different ones, and you're going to get a massive bottleneck in fulfillment. You're going to get super frustrated because like he has literally one media buyer doing 50 client accounts because dude, they do the same thing.
Yeah, when I was doing solar, it was like I had 17 accounts all doing the same
and so
thing.
I get your point with like you don't want to run ads yet, but if you just go after one niche And you could start here with a couple, and then it's very easy to scale because once they're making money, they won't fire you, right? And it's a lot more consistent because I think the most consistent part that people don't talk about is in-person sales. Like in-person sales, when they come in and they have a consultation, they want to be there, it's completely different than someone calling online. Online just is very low trust. That's why it's harder to close because they don't know you. They haven't seen you.
But that's why my background works because I've made money.
Right. So like the one thing I can't help you with is like, I don't personally know because like, I understand SMMA, but like I have not ran ads or like tried to scale something like this. But what I can tell you is if I had gun to my head, I had to get to $1 million a month as fast as I could. I was like, yo, we're only going after these people. And it's even the issue I've had in elite CEOs to some degree. Because what happened with me is I started in fitness, right? So it was all fitness clients. Then I went to trainers because it did well. And then we went to kind of general. So what's the biggest issue with doing kind of general business coaching? I get all kinds of different clients. That's easy for me, but it's harder to find good coaches because the coaches have to have so much more experience and understanding of different offers versus if it's like, hey, it's a trainer. They do this every fucking time. It's the same one. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot easier to scale. That may not be what you want to hear, but I'm just telling you, there's no way you're going to get you money if you just go after all the coaches, unless the only other way you can do that is go super fucking high ticket. So like Gary Vee, he's got like a $300 million ad agency, but they have Coca-Cola and fucking Apple who just are like,
here's my,
hey, give us a tax write-off. We don't even care if we make money. I mean, it's like stupid shit like that.
Yeah, no.
And those guys usually will seek out you versus like, they're not going to click on your ads and get on call. So if I were you, what I would do is I'd figure out what's the niche and maybe research this, like research ad agencies. It's like which niche usually sells for either the highest multiple or gets the biggest. Change your cold email strategy to that. And to be frank, I don't think it's even a risk for you to run ads. If you're doing 10K a month, you have a budget. Depending on your living expenses, you have a little bit of a budget to do it. And if you know what the KPIs should be and you're doing all this shit on the back end, you're good to go. Like all our ads, just so you know, when they click, they go to a DM. And then we get their information and then we text blast, voicemail, retarget, dial. I mean, we're fucking them up until they get on a call. And then if they don't do this, they can still watch that or they can book from here, right? So we're hitting them every single way. And that's why I've been successful for 6 years. It's not because, I have this amazing funnel or VSL. It's like, it's our follow-up, right?
Well, I mean, it's good to know that at least like internally I'm doing it right because I do all that stuff.
Yeah, 100%. Your issue too is like also think about scaling your team. Like if your wife only had to learn how to service Kairos, that's so much easier to teach her than like, all right, so this person is this and this person is that and that's gonna and it's also, bro, just like
about that.
Right. And then also if you think about your schedule, like it's so much easier if it's just like the same thing over and over. So like what would happen is instead of you being kind of maxed out at 5 clients.
See, I viewed it as the same thing, but you're kind of right.
You could do like probably 20 clients before you need help. And then like this guy yesterday who's doing 150 a month, I think he had 1 media buyer. He had like 3 VAs. And then the one thing he did do that I thought was smart that you could look into is he had his own setter team that called all the leads for the Kairos. But again, why would that be easier for you to do? Because it's the same conversation every time.
Well, I did actually, I don't know how you feel about AI, but in replacing your VAs with AI.
It just depends how good it is. I mean, some people say it's good, and then I see it, I'm like, it's not as good as they say it is. You know what I'm saying?
Can I show you something?
Yeah, sure.
Check this out.
Yeah.
Do you think that's good enough to replace the VA?
Like, hey, I'm not understanding my message.
I mean, you'd have to test it. I think most of it I've seen is like it's really long, right? Like when it starts getting the blocky text. I think like it'll work on beginners. I don't think it'll work on like if someone's more experienced typically because they're gonna be looking for that. That's just my personal opinion. I mean, that's not enough for me to like make a great decision. So like I said, I mean, the first thing we got to do is just like let's like pick a niche and then focus there. This is too difficult. You're getting all kinds of different coaches. They're fucking idiots. They don't understand how to do follow up. You can't do it for them. That's where all your problems start. So if you just start here and you pick a niche, all that will get simpler. And then you can get the first few clients and then you just do the same thing. And it's like easy. The other thing you need to understand is like when people tell me, they say stuff like, oh, the VAs aren't up to par. My team's not up to par. Like you're the one who's hiring them. So it's your fault.
I know.
So the VA you got, were they foreign VA type deal?
Yeah.
Okay. So you get what you pay for. So it's either one of two things. You have to have a systemized process of SOPs. So like when someone comes in, an idiot should be able to look at your sheet and follow it through and get the result that you're looking for. If they come through and they can't do it, then it means your SOPs are not good enough. If they still can't do it, then you got to get a different person. Okay. This guy I spoke to yesterday, I'm pretty sure he has foreign media buyers and stuff. But again, If they come in and it's the same ads with the same text and the same copy and the same funnels, there's not a lot for them to up. Versus with what you're doing, there has to be a lot of creativity.
They have to relearn the offer every time.
There has to be a lot of creativity, which is that's an American level pay, and so you're paying a foreign VA to figure out American level work. That was exactly the issue. Yeah. Is that every time there was any kind of roadblock at all, they like work would stop. Right. So you're hiring. You can't hire doers to be thinkers, right? Like in my business,
what is that? I've never heard that before.
Thinker can come up with solutions to problems. Like you're basically hiring these VAs who are just like you can tell them what to do, but that's all. They're not going to think up solutions for you. Oh, that's what it sounds like. Okay. So the biggest thing is this: once you fix that bottleneck, all this should be pretty systematized. And then what you need to do from there is, so we need a new niche. Okay. And then we need probably a media buyer first.
I have a media buyer that is American that she would work on a contract basis from that previous period.
But yeah, I would try to get in-house people. Like ultimately, like you need in-house people who are full-time. It's okay to start as contractors, but when it's part-time, they give you part-time. You'll notice like it's full-time effort is different than part-time effort. Yeah. Part-time literally means they think about your offer half the day, which means they're doing it as fast as they can so they can go work on their other shit. Right. Yeah. And it's just not really good. So that should solve most of your problems. The rest of it, like you've already made some sales, so you're at 10K a month. The rest of it is like, we can just go through like how you're going to get the leads or attract them or like what you need to do. I'm happy to go through that. But like, what else do you think your bottlenecks are? Because to me, the most obvious thing is like, you just can't keep going after all these clients.
Can you tell me why you'd rather do ads versus cold email? Because like, to be clear, this was a bad year for us. We did 250.
Yeah. I'm not against cold email. Just like realistically, you're not scaling really. You're doing, if you're at 10K a month right now, the first issue is you're getting drop off of the clients. They're not sticking. Yeah. Like what's your LTV? Like 3 months, 2 months?
Yeah, 3 months. Exactly.
That's trash. It's horrible. Exactly. You need the LTV to be probably like 8+. So the first thing is like, if we can get better clients or like more consistent results, LTV will go. So that will be your first thing. So then this number could probably go up to 20 or 30 with the same amount of clients because they're not falling off as much, right? Or excuse me, not the same amount of clients, but you're adding. That's the first thing. Like the guy yesterday, what was his name? So I stopped saying the guy yesterday. Nathan. He's doing about 250 a month or 150 a month. What was he doing a month? 150? He's doing 150, but he's doing like half of it is from recurring revenue. So he's not,
and that's my thing is I can't get the recurring revenue.
And the reason you can't get it is you're just having to do too much work. Now, realistically, could you do a lot better and all this stuff? Sure, but it's still not sustainable. So it's better we find this out now than 20 clients deep.
I've already been through it with 3 other niches.
Yeah, so I would do that. Now, in terms of cold email or whatever, I'm going to erase this stuff.
Yeah, because the reason I'm so stuck on it is because number one, the calls were easy. Number two is that we did scale to 250K last year just with cold email.
Like total or per month?
Yeah, total. No,
yeah,
total.
I was like, okay, so just keep in mind, it's like if you want you money, we're talking multiple 6 figures a month.
What I should have done was just taken that. I used the money on, like that was the other thing is during that time was I paid like 50 grand that year for coaching. All of that money that was the extra money from me winning in cold email went to coach. And in my mind,
it just depends on your skills. Like it depends. Look, like based on like what I've learned from you and talking to you, you would only pay for more coaching if you need help with skills. Skills would be sales calls, like hiring, follow-ups, like that, right? But if you think you have it down enough, then like really most of my money would be going towards ads to speed up the process. Now you can do cold email, but if you're sending 10,500 emails a month to only get 1 close, then we have to start doing the math. It's like, okay, if I want to you got to decide how many clients you want a month. So if you're like, I want 10 clients, is it realistic for you to send out 100,000 emails? I don't know. That's a lot of email inboxes warming up. It's not usually as realistic to scale consistently. So if your price point right now is you're getting, it was Alex? Nathan. Jeez, I don't know why I can't think today. It's early. So he had a 7K 3 months. Okay. I don't know what to tell you to charge it at because it will depend on the industry, but he was doing a 7K 3 month and then the minimum he would get down was like, he said the lowest he would go was like 2 grand. So if you're running ads, right, and you just know your KPIs and cost of acquisition, the easiest way to know if you're going to scale quickly is cost of acquisition should be 25% of the deal typically. Do you usually run ads to opt-in or what do you run them to?
To the actual funnel, yeah.
Okay, so let's go over two types of funnels.
Not to Facebook forums or TikTok forums.
Yeah, so let's go over two types of funnels you can run. Okay.
Should be 25%, you said?
Usually, yeah. I'm going to show you those numbers.
Okay.
So if you want to scale, typically your CAC, so how much it costs you to make a sale, should be 25%. So let's say for 7K, then you really don't want to spend more than $2,000 to acquire a customer. Why? Because if it gets over that, you're going to start running into like margin issues or, because you have operation costs, et cetera. Now, if your LTV improves, because right now, basically your clients sign up and then they quit, which means they're not getting a good service or they fucking suck or you're hiring the wrong people, which doesn't surprise me because if you're going cold email, that's the other issue. If I'm going to cold email, I want to be very picky of the clients. So like right now, my internal ad agency, we're going after gym owners, but what we do is we make sure that they hit certain KPIs or metrics that we want. We're like, hey, they have to have at least 2 staff. They have to have this or we won't take them on because what our offer is too, something else you can do on cold email, by the way. The goal with cold email or cold calls is you give them the best offer. You do as much work for them as possible that is allowable. Meaning in a perfect world, you would do a full service for free, right? But that's not like sustainable. So what we do is we're like, hey, we'll run your ads for free for 30 days, only pay if you get results. So what does that mean? My team has to make sure that the people we get from cold email, we know for a fact they will get the fucking goal because we don't want to do work for free, right? That would also be something else you could do is like, what is the common theme with all the people who suck? Probably you're getting a bunch of fucking beginners who have no fucking skills.
Yeah,
so like,
that's 100% it. And then I've gotten the response of, oh, you need to build a sales program. Oh, you need to have sales.
Right, so they want,
I'm like,
right,
well, I'm
so
already
they want,
doing all this other stuff.
right, so you're, exactly. So yeah, so you get the point. Like, so one of the benefits of elite CEOs, one benefit is we can go really broad. And that helps us because there's anyone who wants to basically do coaching or service-based business, we can help. But what's the downside? You get a lot of trash. Yeah. A lot of fucking beginners, not a lot of fucking experienced people, right? And so the only way you can combat that with cold is when you go, whatever you decide to do, be very picky. So you you really only want clients. You're like, will this client stay past 3 months? And if the answer is no, you really don't want to bring them on because all that churn, dude,
it's just fucking killing me right now.
It kills you, yeah. And then you're stressed out and you're doing all this extra work and it's like, why? So that's all I'm going to say on this. I'm not against this at all. I like that you're doing it. It's just also, can the volume get to the place you want to go?
Yeah, is it causing a symptom?
Yeah, because like we use Mailshake, and Mailshake, we got to warm up inboxes, we got to send 1 million emails. It takes time. So I'm not saying it's bad. It's also just, again, it goes back to this first premise. You need to niche down. So we'll stop talking about that. Yeah. Now, in terms of the funnel, ads are fine as long as you can hit KPIs. The other thing is like, let's say you're selling it for 7K for 3 months, okay? Your CAC could be 2,000, but if you could get your LTV to 9 months, so instead of a 7K LTV on average, you get a 21K. Well, all of a sudden, what does that mean?
Now we can pay
more on ads. So you could probably take this up to like, $6,000. Well, you can spend $6,000 to acquire one client.
Then you're going to win every time.
Oh, you'll get you money. But like, because even this number is not that high. So like for elite CEOs,
really?
When we're at scale, which number?
2K is not that high?
I mean, not to get a client that's you're going to get 21K.
Yeah, but
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I hear you, but it's all relative because like if we sell a $16,000 program, I'll spend $4,000 to acquire that client. Why wouldn't I? I get 16 grand. That's a 12K. You can still survive at a higher number. So like if you're selling a 7K program, you could survive getting 3,500, but it's preferable because as you scale, it just gets smaller margin, right? And that's not what we want. We want big margin. So really, like the goal is, I tell people your cost of acquisition should be 25% or less of the total price. Okay. So if you're getting, a sale for every $2,000 you spend, you're Gucci, right? Yeah. If it's below that, you're great. So a lot of people know me for like messenger ads, right? Yeah. The easiest way to scale is not messenger ads. I don't do it because I think it's easier. I do it because it just works more. The reality is like, if you can run ads to here and get this to work, it's much easier to scale because there's a lot less to do. Because ultimately, once they come in here, you'll do all the emails, right? You'll do the text, we'll do all the retargeting bullshit, all that. And then you have the setters, like, so say you got your setters up here, they're calling all the leads, and then they can also watch the VSL. That's a lot easier to scale, right?
Yeah. And that's the way that we've scaled every time. But like I said, it's at about 35K, which is the highest I've ever been.
Yeah, but
then it starts to break. But I think it's because of everything you mentioned before.
The coolest part about your thing is the biggest issue is like who you're servicing. You know, they say the niches are in the riches. The downside to it is, yes, it's more narrow. So like you usually have to spend more per client and stuff. But at the end of the day, the thing people don't think about is the fulfillment. The fulfillment is why they say that. Because when you do the same, because what you're looking for in a business is you want the same result over and over and over, right?
That's why my solar clients stayed longer too.
Right. The issue, even consulting companies, like if you look at my company, or like I'm friends with, or like any of the guys that you look up to, you're like, wow, this is a lot of money. The biggest issue in consulting companies is that they can't scale past usually 30 million. It's usually around there. Like you see a couple guys over it, some below it, but it's like, that's usually where you see the top dogs. It's gonna be around 30 mil. The reason is because if you get, let's say I get 3 clients, I get John, who's a 1, right? I get George, who's a 5, whatever. And then I get Jill, who's a 10 in terms of skill, let's say. Well, I show them all the same things. What do they say? Well, Jill's like, Tanner's the fucking man. George is like, Tanner's okay. John's like, Tanner fucking sucks. But I showed them all the same thing. The issue is that in consulting, part of their results is dependent on them.
Yeah.
Right? That's how you're going to build a big business, because you can't count on people to be smart. You got to be like,
that's
the way you're thinking.
Seriously, you're right.
Yeah, the way you're thinking, the way you have to think is, can the dumbest person on earth
planet do it?
Yeah. And so like, let's think about, let me give you examples of companies that have scaled. So, okay, we had a guy yesterday, great business model. I'm going to walk you through this business model. So he had this business model where they take basically bad Airbnb reviews off people's sites. Well, guess what happens? Everyone gets the same result. He's scaling it like a motherfucker, because all you have to do is pay him $70 and then he removes it. And then his LTV is like $800 a client. I was like, holy shit. So they pay you over and over again. He's like, yeah. And then we just remove it. It's really easy. Those are the businesses that will sell for 8, 9, or 10 figures. Every business you look at, or every billionaire I've spoken to, they always have a business that's easy to no fulfillment. So for you, you can't have no fulfillment because it's SMMA, but you got to make it fucking easy, where it's just like, dude, one media buyer can handle like 50 fucking clients. Instead of right now.
So that's my exact problem, Tanner.
Yeah, because if you do the coaching route, one media buyer, on my team, just so you know, thank you. My team, we have one media buyer for probably 8 to 10 accounts. And like, dude, it's not that, that's a lot. So we'd have a team of like, if we had 500 clients, we'd literally have like a team of like 50 media buyers. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Right? Of one of the funnels yesterday that I thought was really cool. He basically just had, he had the ad, and then he said it was a survey, but it was really an opt-in, and it just had more questions. It was like tech, it was like name, phone number, clinic, whatever. And then on the next page was just basically like, oh, a booking link. So I'm not saying you need to do it exactly this way. I would prefer a VSL. So like have a VSL with a booking link here. Okay. And then it pushes to a call. And then what happens is you have setters, or yourself, right? Or your wife or whoever. You go and you call the leads, and then they either book from here or they book from there, right? That's the easiest way to scale. Like if I had to pick one way, this would be preferable. Now, the issue sometimes, and the reason have you seen my ads before?
Yeah.
Okay, so you clicked on it, you get DMs, okay. Yeah. So the reason we do this is typically, especially with coaches and consultants, a lot less trust, a lot harder to close. Like just, I've seen fucking, I've been So what we do is we go in here, and it's harder to scale, but we overcome all those objections. So like even that guy you were DMing, that guy wasn't gonna book without that. You understand what I'm saying? Like, did he book a call?
Yeah, he booked a call.
He's not going to book a call without that interaction. So all I'm trying to get you to understand is like, when you run ads, what I want you to focus on is 25% should be your CAC goal. So what are you going to sell it at? Like, what would you sell it at?
What would I like?
What do you sell it at now?
Well, I sell it at $3K right now.
Well, that's per month.
Oh, really. Yeah, $3K, $1,500. So it's 55.
Yeah. So, so $3K for and the first month. Yeah. So you're doing about. So it's 45, you're doing about 6K, right? So the goal for you would be like make a sell for about $1,700. And all you have to decide is like, what I would do is you split test these funnels. So you split test a funnel like this. I don't care which funnel works. It just has to work. For us, whenever we've ran ads straight to the page, we have never, ever in the history of my business, I don't know why. Sometimes it frustrates me. I don't know why. We've never gotten better results than when we run a messenger. I don't know why. My buddy, right? He runs everything to opt-in.
Yeah. I bought his shit too.
He does great. He gets great results. So it doesn't matter. Like a lot of people worry about how they win. It doesn't matter how you win. You just have to win. Okay. So number 1 is like pick a niche, right? Preferably, I would prefer local. The only reason I like local is again,
in person.
Hey, we have to get an idiot results. So what's easier, in-person closing or over the phone? In person. So let's pick something. That's why I pick it. I don't pick it because I'm like, local's the best. It's just, I need an idiot to close. And like, the thing is like, that's part of why did so well. Because look, think about it. They had gym owners who sold low price products. And so they're like, and didn't run ads. So they're like, raise your price, run ads, and it's in-person sales.
Duh.
Now there's nuance to it. So I'm not going to say like, oh, I could just go build.
But it started from very obvious.
But it started from like really simplistic shit, right? So pick a niche. Once you pick the niche, I would pick local just because they have the in-person closing. And so you don't have to do as much work. Now, a lot of your clients are saying, hey, we need a sales course and stuff like this. I would agree, but it's a lot easier when you're just doing it for this person. So you're going to say literally this, you're going to do literally that, you're going to do literally this email, this text. You understand what I'm saying? That's what did too. Your to-do homework is like, pick the niche. That's the most important thing you can do after you're leaving today. Once you pick the niche, I'd set up your funnel. Okay.
I already have, yeah.
And you'd either test opt-in or DM. I don't care what you do. The big thing though is a lot of people, what they will do is they'll run an opt-in funnel and then it doesn't work and they spend a year trying to get it to work. I'm like, bro, just fucking run it to the DM and fucking message all those people and get them on a fucking call. Right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Once you do that, then you're going to start hiring your team. Right? Because then you got to start getting people in place. So like probably in order of what you're going to need, you're going to need media buyers. Right? You could do the sales for a while, right? You could do the sales probably until you're getting to like, depends, like maybe 30 to 50K-ish. You might need to start getting some setters, but like it's going to probably be media buyers and like VA. So like fulfillment stuff. And then it's going to be setters. And then after you get past like 6 figures, you're going to want to do sales reps, right? Something else that I would look into is like part of your service. So like, let's say you pick this niche, the things I would do is you build like some type of course just on like, hey, this is how you're going to do the sale. This is how you're going to do that. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but it's like, if it's the same process every time, it's super easy to teach. One of the things that's hard for me when I'm teaching elite CO clients, they all have different offers. So I'm teaching more frameworks versus like, say this, say that, which is easier for people to understand. So I'd have some type of course on like, just show them the stuff that will get them better results. It doesn't have to be a crazy course. I'm just saying like on your sales call, say this or like, et cetera. Okay. The next thing that I would look into, not yet, but I think at some point that really makes this services better is if you have a team of setters who sets the calls for them. The cool part is like you could set up the automations. So these are like setters for the clients.
That's the number one request I get right now.
Right. The reason that would be great is one, you know they're going to work the leads. What's the biggest issue? They don't fucking work
their leads. Yeah.
So you make sure they work the leads and then you would just set up a software. I know there's a way to do it where like as the leads come in, let's say you have 50 clients, the leads come in and it'll have some type of tag like this. And then you'd have a system where the setters can just see, hey, it's for this local area.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I mean, no, this is super smart. But that would be the only done for you part because why is it easy? You get the setters to say the same
thing. We control the whole system.
Yeah, and then they make it more dependent on you, which is what you actually want, so they don't cancel. So this will also help you with LTV because now what you're bringing to the table is setters. Now, you're not going to do fucking sales for them, but I would do the setters. First is like, here's a structure of a call. We'll end on this. So you have intro, pre-frame, okay? You have questions or discovery, okay? Then what I do, so that's like, you're asking stuff. Then I do what I call is the 3 pillars. The 3 pillars is like why they should buy with me. So typically what I'll do is I'll do 2 on like a mechanism. So a mechanism meaning like, we do special XYZ funnel or we do XYZ follow-up. So if you went and got those setters, one of the mechanisms would be like, we do all the setting for you, right? And you make it sound sexy. And then like one of the mechanisms might be like, hey, we do, XYZ McDonald, McFlurry funnel, whatever. Okay. Like it doesn't matter what it is. Like for elite CEOs, what we usually hit on is like, we'll say like offer creation. We're like, look, the reason you're not scaling is you have problems with your systems, your back end, your hiring. Like we're going to look at all that, blah, blah, blah. And then the second one we usually hit on is lead generation. We're like, we're going to show you a lead generation system that gets us 50% more applications than a typical funnel. People are like, oh, it's like whatever. Then the last one is like something about you specifically. So like what our third pillar is we call it process. And what we usually do in that is we're like, why should you hire us? So if there were 10 coaches in the room right now, why hire Tanner versus like Joel and like all these other guys you mentioned today? So the first thing we would say is like, well, experience, right? Like we've been in business for 6 years. We've done basically 70 million in the last 4. There's very few people who've done those numbers. So like you want to hire the most experienced company, right? Because they've been through more They're like, yeah. Then we're like specificity. So if I'm talking to like, let's say a fitness trainer, in your case, if you were to say that, you're like, hey, I only work with med spas. So I'm going to be better than an ad agency that works with everyone. That's another thing about specificity. It's like, hey, would you hire Tiger Woods to teach you basketball? No, you'd hire Michael Jordan. So if I'm talking to a trainer or someone, I'm like, hey, I built a multi-million-dollar fitness company. They're like, oh, great, right? And then the last one is usually attention, which is just like talking about the level of support they're going to get. So these 3 pillars can be whatever you want them to be, but it needs to be like, if I sat down with you and I wasn't like, you weren't pitching me, I'm like, what's the top 3 reasons someone should work with you? Like, what are the 3 things you do better than anyone else? And if you're like, well, I don't really know, like you need to work on that, because when you're on the sales call, if they think you sound like everyone else, they will give you
that's exactly what I'm trying to figure out is that whenever I do say it, because it's like I'm badass at sales, I'm better at TikTok, and I know systems and processes. My brain can take stuff apart and put it back together without touching it better than yours ever can. Right? So those are my 3 things.
Yeah, but it just seems like
I sound like an asshole to, at least in my head, that sounds like everybody else.
Well, listen, the thing you need to think of more is like, pretend they had 10 sales calls and you were one of the 10 sales calls. If you say anything similar to what maybe the other sales calls are saying, you don't stand out. That's what a lot of people forget. A lot of people think the sales call is just you and them. It's like, no, the sales call is you and 10 other people.
Average person is like 3 or 4.
Right. So what I want you to focus on is focus on the things you can do that make you stand out from other people. Right. And it, like for us, like, that's why I'm like, hey, look, one of the things we do is what we call convergent conversations. We run, up to $500,000 a month through DMs. No one in the industry is doing that. It's completely different. It's that sets me apart. No one else is going to tell them that on a call. And it's like, it's not true if they do. That's what I just mean is like, and if there's nothing you can think of, then spend time on
developing stuff.
Yeah, spend time on it. And it doesn't even have to be anything crazy. Like, so what I'll say, for example, is we'll say, for one of the mechanisms, I say conversion conversations, but really all that is DM ads. But I don't say, yeah, so pillar number 2 is DM ads. I'm like, I make it sound sexy, and they're like, oh, shit. And I'm like, that's a unique follow-up system of text, emails, voicemails, etc. Right? Same thing with offer creation. Like, we could probably even make it sound better than saying that, but I like hit on, like with you, if you were to come on a call with me, I'm like, look, dude, we're going to help you dial in the funnel, the processes, et cetera. Like right now, you're doing way too many things. You're focused on the wrong offer. We're going to dial that in for you and help you, whatever. So that's the 3 pillars. Once you get through the 3 pillars, you're going to do, let me see what I'm missing. Brief overview. So usually that's like, all right, the deliverables, right? So it's like less than 5 minutes. You just want to do it so they have a quick understanding. Then I do a certainty. So certainty is like, cool. So, we don't accept everyone in this program, or however you want to say it, but you'd be like, hey, look, we don't always accept everyone in this program. So what I'd like to know from you is like, why do you feel program would be a good fit for you? And then they like sell themselves. Or if you want to make it like easier, you could just say, now that you've heard everything, would you definitely want to sign up? You try to get certainty, because the goal of the sales call is to get as much certainty as you can before the price drop. And then you pitch. Okay. Now what I want to walk you through, and we'll end on this, is if you're like, hey, Tanner, I want to raise the price, but I don't know what I should charge at. It doesn't matter what you say the price is. Okay, so I'll walk you through it. So here's how you're going to do it. What's the lowest amount of money you would take on a deal? Like full transparency. Like if someone came on the call and they were broke as could be, but they wanted to do it, what's the least amount of money you would take and still take them on as a client?
I had $1,500, but I put them on a 6-month contract.
All right, so watch. So here's what you're going to do, $1,500. So you're going to come in, you're going to close. So you say the price of the program is $20,000. I don't care what you say. You can literally say any number. It does not matter what the number is. The reason you do it this way is because you can test new price points without losing clients. Because what you're thinking is like, well, if I say a new high price point, they say, no, I'm going to get f***ed and lose clients. So you're scared to do it. Doesn't matter what you say. So let's just say you're like, it's 20 grand. Like say a fucking egregious number.
Stupid number, yeah.
Okay. And they're like, oh, that's too much, right? I can't do that. You're like, totally get it. Okay. So just as I'm going to close, they say, hey, it's 20 grand. That's too much. Can't do it. Totally get it. No problem, Tanner. Now, is there anything else besides the price that would stop you from moving forward today? And they're going to go, well, no, it's just the price. You're like, cool. So everything else sounds good. It's literally just the price. And they're going to go, yes, which is the first tie down. Okay. So a tie down means you're pushing them into a box. You're getting commitment. That's it. Okay. Then you do a double tie down. So the double tie down is, got it. So if we're able to figure out the price.
Yep. I got this.
You're down to move forward. Okay. So here's the part I want you to focus on. So here's the next part. So then what you do here is you're like, cool. So what's your cash on hand? Okay. Now, once they give you the cash on hand, as long as they say anything above 1,500, you know you can make a deal work, right? The goal here is to not sound like a used car salesman. If we understand the cash on hand situation, then what should we be able to do? We should be able to give a suggestion or come up with a game plan that actually makes sense for them, right? So let's say they're like, well, I have 5,000. I can't do 20,000, I have 5,000. So here's how you get it to work. I'm gonna get one more commitment before I give them a solution. So I go, got it. So the price of the program, you're gonna customize it. So I'll just put customize. So listen to how I say this. So the price of the program is typically 20,000. That is the price. But based on what you said, that's not a realistic option for you. So I am open to coming up with a customized solution. But before I do that, I just wanna make sure that you can move forward today. The reason that's important is because what most people do is they give them a customized solution and they go, oh, that sounds great. I just need to think about it now. It's like, no,
because they didn't do that last part.
It's like, no. That's not a fair deal. A fair deal, if I give you a fucking discount, then you move fucking forward now. That's the deal, right? So what this does, and what they're gonna do is either say yes, or they're gonna, well, what would that deal be? It's like, well, like I said, like I'm down to come up with something, but I don't wanna get into all those specifics unless you're able to move forward today, because it's a non-issue if you can't move forward. So what you're doing is you're getting them to fucking say, when you give them this deal, they're gonna do it right now. That's super important, because what most people do is they just stop here on cash on hand and they don't do this part. Okay, so let's say they're like, okay, sounds great. So then what you do is you go, I just say like, don't spend all. So what I say is this, I go, well, look, I don't think you should do nothing, but I also don't think you should spend all of it, right? Because that's not what's best for you. Because like, think about it, if I was your friend and you had $5,000, I'm like, well, give me all your fucking $5,000, right? And that's all the money you have left. That's not like a good deal. Yeah. So what I would say is like this, I'm like, so look, let's say you said 20 grand. So the first thing is like, at the end of the day, if your normal deal package is 7,000, they don't know that. They just think it's 20 grand. So now that you say you're gonna customize, you're like, okay, so look, I don't think you should do nothing, but I don't think you should spend all of it. So here's what I can do. And if you know that, like, let's say they have $5,000 total and that's for bills, groceries, babies, diapers, then you're like, all right, so realistically, what's gonna be best for them is they probably put down, let's say like 2,500. So then what do? I'm like, so look, here's what I can do, right? If you can move forward today, like you just said, what I can do is you put down the first payment of 2,500, and then we'll just do 2 more payments to that over the next 60 days. Does that sound fair enough? And then what happens is either they're gonna say yes, or they're gonna go, well, that doesn't work. You're like, okay, so based on what you said, I think that would be fair, but what's an ideal situation for you? And then that's pretty much the end of the call. They're either gonna
split the difference thing.
Yeah, and they're either gonna say a number that works, or they're gonna say bullshit. You're like, hey dude, look, like I'm down to help you. It usually is 20 grand. You can come back anytime, and this is how you apply pressure. I'm like, you can come back anytime, pay 20 grand in full. That's usually what it costs. I don't usually do payment plans, but I'm down to help you. But it's like, if we don't move forward today, I can't hold that deal for you. And then what happens is you create all this built up pressure without being pushy at all, which is why people wanna buy. If you do that, you can test any fucking price point you want. And you will never worry about losing the deal, because what most people don't want to do is they don't want to go through this, but it's like, you won't lose deals if you do that.
That's really smart, dude.
That's what I would do, because then when you're like, hey Tanner, can I raise my price point? I'm like, yeah. And then what happened for me, so just so you know, so when I was in fitness, I started selling at 1,500 and I worked it all the way up to 32. And then what happened is once I went past 32, I just started seeing, it was like, when I sell above 32, I get a lot more no's. And then when I sold below 32, I got way too many yeses. So I was like, 32 is my sweet spot. And then what was cool is I would pitch it at that, but then if someone couldn't do it, I would just follow that framework and I would close like 60 or 70% of my calls, because if the lowest you'll take is 1,500, then you know you have all this fucking room. And then the thing is like, you're just like, look.
And then I can sell my
and they don't talk to the client. No one knows it. It's your business. No one has to fucking know what you're charging. Like you could change the price anytime. Like if I own Walmart, I can fucking change the price of the shoes whenever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
Right now, you don't want clients going around like, well, I paid, they're all talking to each other, but you just are like, you say that, you're like, look, I'm going to do this for you, but 2 things. You work hard. You don't tell the other clients I give you a discount. Does that sound fair? And then like, they're just like, oh my God, this is such a good deal. And it's a win-win for everybody.
Cool, man.
Cool?
Yeah.
All right, bro.
Appreciate you.
Crush it. Yeah, man.
I got a lot of good insight in a very, very short period of time. We oftentimes get too close to our work And I've felt that way for a long time. So it's good to just have somebody look at it from an outside perspective with no previous exposure to what I was doing and give me some insights coming from somebody that's never seen my business before. I feel like I have a lot of work to do, but that said is that I'm not afraid of the work and I'm not afraid of putting in that time to make sure that it gets done. More importantly than that, like small stuff. I've already got all the big picture because of all the experience that I have, but like the customizing the proposal at the end, looking at the fact that I'm literally switching entire industries and offers and everybody between all of my clients. And that's a big part of what's slowing me down. So the biggest thing is to simplify the business. Switching from coaching to something like a med spa, or it's not an easy lift, but if it's going to solve all of the other that I've created over the past 2 years, then so be it. Never walk in with any expectations, but walk in with an idea of what you want to get out of it. There's a difference between the two. Thank you very much. Very, very, very grateful that I got this opportunity, and I'm grateful that I got some insight, and I'm grateful that he was willing to spend some time, and I'm grateful you guys put out the offer to bring me down here.